What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are going to continue our coverage over Marvel's event Empyre, and we are actually going to pick up with some tie-ins, and we're going to pick up with the Captain Marvel tie-ins. And the reason why, because at the end of Empyre number 2, Captain Marvel had joined the Kree army, and besides her joining the Kree army, she had also became an accuser. And remember, an accuser is like one of the elite soldiers in the Kree army. And so now with her joining the Kree army and also becoming an accuser, she's now a very powerful threat in the universe. And so we're going to cover her tie and see what happens to Captain Marvel while she's now being an accuser for the Kree army. So with that all being said, I actually need to explain what is the main point of this entire event. So we need to jump back to the year 1970s, where Marvel gave us a storyline, the Kree-Skrull War. With that storyline, we learned about why the Kree and the Skrulls went to war against one another. So back in the early days of the Marvel Universe, the Skrulls were one of the best empires in the universe, and they used to let other worlds join their empires. And so when they went to the home world of the Kree, which was Hala, they found out that there was a second race, which was known as the Katati. Now, the Skrulls took the Katati and the Kree to the Earth's moon to have a competition to see which race is going to join the Empire. The Katati won, which made the Kree upset, and they killed off most of the Katati and some of the Skrulls. That led into the Kree-Skrulls War. But the Katati were spread across the universe, and with this storyline, or really the last storyline, the Katati are back to get revenge against the Kree and the Skrulls. Now, at the end of Empyre number 2, you saw the Kree and the Skrulls struggling against the Katatis, and so that is why you had Captain Marvel join the Kree, and that is why she became an accuser. And so with all that being said, we can finally jump into her tie-ins. And so the opening pages of the first chapter of Captain Marvel tie-ins, we actually pick up with some Skrulls who are right now out in space having some difficulties because right now they're being attacked by some Katatis. And so with that being said, it does seem like they are going to die very soon here in the middle of space. But that is the moment they are technically saved by no other than Captain Marvel. But now she's better known as Captain Marvel, the Accuser, because now she holds one of the hammers of the Accusers, one of the elite soldier objects that makes her an elite soldier in the Kree army. But after you have Captain Marvel save those Skrull soldiers, she does fly back over to the command ship of the Kree and the Skrulls. Because remember, now the Kree and the Skrulls, they're now working together and they're being led by Emperor Hulkling. Now, with all that being said, when she goes back to the command ship, she goes in to talk to the Emperor Hulkling to give him an update what happened on her last mission, which we just saw. She saved the Skrulls, but she made sure that when it comes to the Katatis, there were no survivors at all. Now, right after she did all that right there, you didn't have Emperor Hulkling ask her a question because he realized that Captain Marvel wants to say something else, but she's not saying it. And so, of course, she says, never mind, and she walks away. But we know that she wants to say something very important, but we have no idea what. Now, after her conversation with Emperor Hulkling, we do see her walk away, but this begins the process of us seeing that she does have some doubts about her joining the Kree army. She feels a lot of pressure because she is half Kree, half human, but over the years of Marvel Comics, she had fought against the Kree, and when she learned that she was half Kree, she still fought against them. She never truly helped the Kree out, and the Kree are her own people. She is half Kree, half human. But at the same time, when you have Susan Storm, one of the members of the Fantastic Four, walk over to check up on Captain Marvel, you have Carol Danvers tell Susan, like, hey, listen, I feel a lot of pressure, especially carrying this hammer, because with me carrying this hammer, that means that I am supposed to be an elite soldier. I am an accuser, an elite soldier for this army, and I feel a lot of pressure right now. But right after she had that conversation, you actually have Emperor Hulkling call her back in. Now, this is going to be very important because remember, she does have some doubts about her being part of the Kree army. She does have some doubts about being an accuser, one of the elite soldiers of the Kree army. But then you have Emperor Hulkling give her her first major task. Everything else she has done so far for Emperor Hulkling have been small things. This is her first big task. And with that being said, he tells her, I need you to accuse someone, meaning that I am going to send you somewhere and you need to judge somebody to see if they should live or die. But of course, this is going to be the first major task for Carol Danvers. Now, you do have Emperor Hulkling explain what is Carol Danvers' first mission, which is that she needs to go over to a particular planet. And the reason why, because on that planet, there was a city, and that city was made to be a test to see if the Kree and the Skrulls could live together in unity. Because the Kree and the Skrulls, they have been fighting against each other for so many years. And so with that being said, they made this city to see if both races could live together. And they were, until a Kree soldier went crazy and wrecked the city. And so right now it's Emperor Hulkling saying, listen, the Skrulls, they want us to deal with this because it is one of our own. It is a Kree soldier that did wreck the city. So you need to get down there and stop that person. Now, of course, when she does arrive in the city, she does see a team of Kree soldiers trying to get close to the person that did wreck the city. The problem is, though, this person who had wrecked the city is a great fighter. She knows how to protect herself. And so right now, this group of soldiers are having a hard time actually getting close to her. And so you do have Carol Danvers say, listen, if you guys are having a hard time, that means I need to step in and handle this problem, because honestly, this looks bad on the Kree army right now. And so you actually have Carol Danvers use her new accuser hammer to get close to that person, to block all of their attacks, to finally stop them, and to hopefully bring them in. But here's the big thing though, as soon as she was able to get close to that person, you had that person just quit. Like, whoever wrecked this city, whoever this person is, she just stops. She's like, okay, listen, you won. You got this close to me. I'm going to stop, but I do want to talk to you first. Now, the reason why this soldier wants to talk to Carol Danvers is because she wants to tell Carol Danvers a few things. The first thing she wants to tell Carol Danvers is that her name is L'Oreal, and that right there is going to be very important for this storyline. Now, with that being said, though, you also have L'Oreal tell Carol Danvers that she is innocent, that she did not do this at all. Now, for Carol Danvers, she can't believe that because L'Oreal is standing right in the middle where everything went down when it came to the destruction of this city. So she can't believe that L'Oreal is actually innocent. But then you have Carol Danvers use the hammer of the accuser to read the mind of L'Oreal. And this leads into the big shocking moment of this book, because when she reads the mind of L'Oreal, she does realize that L'Oreal was created in a lab, like most Kree soldiers are. But here comes the big shocking moment though. The DNA that was used to make L'Oreal is the mother of Carol Danvers, meaning that L'Oreal is the sister to Captain Marvel, because when the Kree made L'Oreal, they used Captain Marvel's mother to make L'Oreal, her DNA. And so with that, that means L'Oreal is Captain Marvel's sister. And that right there is huge. But of course, we do see Carol Danvers kind of ignore it a tad bit, because she's like, okay, if you are my sister, then you are right now in the middle of one of the worst situations you could be in at this moment. Because right now, the whole entire Kree army and Emperor Hulkling, they want me to kill you because of what you did. And so we do see a blast. Now, we know that Carol Danvers did not kill her newfound sister, L'Oreal, but of course, she does take L'Oreal with her back on her spaceship and they both fly away. Now, of course, they have no plan on what they're going to do next because now it looks like Carol Danvers is protecting a criminal. And of course, you do have those Kree soldiers that were talking to Carol Danvers. They saw her fly away with L'Oreal. And so, of course, they do call up Emperor Hulkling, like, hey, Emperor, your new accuser just took the criminal with her. She did not kill her. She left her alive and they left together. And so now Emperor Hulkling is freaking out. So then when we jump into the second issue of this run, we actually do pick up with Captain Marvel talking to Hulkling on their communicator. And you have Hulkling just pissed off. He's like, what do you mean that you did not take down that person? What in the world is going on? And you have Captain Marvel tell Hulkling like, hey man, listen. So first thing first, I believe the soldier that you believe was guilty is actually innocent. On top of that as well, she is my half sister. So you have Hulkling like, okay, so basically right now you're just telling me that the person I sent you to go after is your half sister and also you believe she's innocent. What else could go wrong? And then that's the moment you have Captain Marvel tell Hulkling, oh, by the way, I don't have my sister with me. I left her somewhere else while I go look for clues to figure out if my sister is actually innocent. And you have Hulkling like, where in the world is your sister then? And so we come to find out that Captain Marvel basically left her sister on Earth in her apartment. L'Oreal is in the apartment of Carol Danvers. And I find it funny because you have L'Oreal, a Kree soldier, trying to figure out how do humans live? What do humans do? And what do humans even wear? And so it's kind of interesting to see L'Oreal try to figure out the human ways. On top of that, she does run into Carol Danvers' cat, which apparently L'Oreal just loves automatically. She's like, oh my God, it's a cat. It's cute. But yes, L'Oreal is no longer with Captain Marvel. She's back on Earth while Captain Marvel try to look for clues to prove that her half-sister is actually innocent. And so then we see Carol Danvers actually fly back over to the planet, to the city where the Kree and the Skrulls were using that city as a way to test to see if both races could live together in unity. Now, when she arrives, she does run into the same soldiers that she saw earlier, the ones who saw her fly away with their prisoner. And of course, they do begin to question her, and she says, listen, your prisoner is somewhere else because I believe that she's actually innocent. So I came here to get some evidence to prove that she is innocent. Now, Carol Danvers does run into an old Marvel character, and let me explain. So that character is Walter Lawson, and he first appeared back in Marvel Superheroes number 13. And matter of fact, I think he was killed off in that book as well. But with that being said, when he was killed off, the original Captain Marvel, Marvel, who was a Kree soldier, when he came to Earth, he used the name Walter Lawson as a way to hide his secret identity. Now, Walter Lawson were believed to be dead for a good amount of years until he popped right back up to get revenge against the Kree, because the Kree was the ones who shot down his plane and left the world to believe that he was dead. But when he came back around, or came back to life, he changed his name from Walter Lawson into Westriel Lawson. Yes, Westriel Lawson. But either way, Westriel Lawson is a great robot builder. But with that being said, when he popped back up, his main goal was to get revenge against the Kree, because right before he had supposedly died, his plane was shot down by the Kree that could have killed him, but he survived. And so ever since then, he has always been trying to get revenge against the Kree. Now at this point, he is a prisoner of the Kree. And so with that being said, it's him telling Carol Danvers, don't worry, I am not a bad guy anymore. Matter of fact, I'm just trying to live out my sentence here with the Kree. Now, you do have Carol Danvers begin to look for some evidence around the area by using the hammer, because the hammer does have the ability to kind of show the past to Carol Danvers. And so right now, you actually have Carol Danvers use the hammer to show the moments right before the destruction of this city. And you have the hammer actually show L'Oreal to make Carol Danvers believe, is there a possibility that L'Oreal was mind controlled, or if L'Oreal had lied to her? Because right now the hammer is only showing L'Oreal and showing no one else who could be involved in the destruction of this city. Now, back on Earth, we come to find out that apparently L'Oreal was supposed to stay in the apartment of Carol Danvers, but because she wants to learn more about the human race, she had left the apartment. And matter of fact, she took Carol Danvers' cat with her, and they're just going around town just trying to find new things for her to learn about the human race. But of course, while she's out, she does hear a lot of screams going on. But unfortunately, we're unable to actually see what happened over there because we have to jump back over to Carol Danvers. And the reason why, because you have Carol Danvers fly back over to her ship, to the soldiers she was talking to earlier. And you didn't have Carol Danvers ask the soldiers about Walter Lawson because he was a prisoner of the Kree. He was supposed to be working with them right now in this battlefield. And so when she asked these soldiers, where is Walter Lawson? They're like, who? And they're like, Walter Lawson, a prisoner of the Kree. And they have no idea who she's talking about. And that right there tells Carol Danvers something is up with Walter Lawson. He was here and now he wasn't. And apparently no one else saw him except Carol Danvers. But back on Earth, we do see what happened to L'Oreal when she began to hear all those different screams. Because remember, this is a tie-in to the Empyre event. And at this point, the Katati, they have landed on Earth. And they're beginning their process of trying to take over the Earth. And so with that being said, you have L'Oreal right now trying to fight against the Katatis by herself. Now, you do have Carol Danvers join in because she did come back to Earth. And honestly, I like this because now we're seeing two sisters work together to save this city of people. And so honestly, it's pretty cool because these two sisters, man, they get their hands dirty. They're like, nope, you will not kill anyone at all. So you have Carol Danvers and L'Oreal just ripping Katatis apart left and right. It is a sight to see. Now, after that battle, you do have Carol Danvers actually meet up with Doctor Strange. And the reason why, because she feels like there is something wrong with the Hammer of the Accuser. Because when it comes to the Hammer of the Accuser, it does have a lot of different abilities. But she feels like it has one particular ability. And that ability is to be able to influence her thoughts, to influence her to think about different things. And so she believes the hammer is right now making her think different things than what really happened in that city with the Kree and the Skrulls. And so the reason why she's here with Doctor Strange is because she wants Doctor Strange to use a spell to clone the hammer, to give clones of the hammer to different people. Because if she has more minds on this case, more people that she actually trusts, then she'll be able to solve this case to prove that L'Oreal is actually innocent. And so with that being said, you have Doctor Strange make clones of the hammer and give it to 3 other people: War Machine, Spider-Woman, and Hazmat. These 3 characters are going to become accusers as well and to help out Carol Danvers to figure out if L'Oreal is actually innocent. And this storyline just got more interesting. Now, when it comes to the 3rd chapter of the tie-ins for Captain Marvel, we actually pick back up in the apartment of Carol Danvers, where of course you have everyone meeting L'Oreal, the half-sister of Carol Danvers, because Spider-Woman is the best friend of Carol Danvers, so it's kind of like a big deal. You should meet your best friend's siblings in a way, but also because War Machine is her boyfriend at this point in Marvel Comics, and so he has to meet the half half-sister of his girlfriend. But either way, though, you do have everyone meet L'Oreal. And after that, you didn't have Carol Danvers tell L'Oreal that they're going to leave and try to look for more clues to figure out if L'Oreal is actually innocent. Now, L'Oreal does ask Carol Danvers, must she take the hammer with her, the hammer of the accuser? And of course, you do have Carol Danvers say, yes, I must take it with me. But then you have L'Oreal say, I do not trust that hammer at all. I can actually hear it sing. And so with that being said, it's L'Oreal kind of realizing that Carol Danvers could possibly be influenced by the hammer, and Carol Danvers may or may not know it. Now, we do know Carol Danvers does realize that the hammer could possibly try to influence her, but either way, it is L'Oreal saying you should not trust that hammer. Now, you do have Carol Danvers actually call up Hulkling because she knows that Hulkling would want to update. And so with that being said, she does call up Hulkling to tell him that right now she's going to continue to look for more clues to prove that her sister is innocent, but she wants to meet with Hulkling somewhere in private because she has something she must show him. Now, we know what she must show him, which is that she went to Doctor Strange to make that spell, make clones of her hammer and give the clones of those hammers over to different people that she actually trusts, like Spider-Woman, War Machine, and Hazmat. And matter of fact, you do have Hulkling go meet up with Carol Danvers in a private area on his ship, where of course he does see what happened, the clones of the hammer given to different people from Earth. And so with that happening, you have Hulkling freak out because the Hulkling, he's like, the hammer is a special item to the Kree community. There's so many different hammers, but they're all special to the Kree community. And to see the hammer be cloned and given to people who are not even Kree could lead to bigger problems down the road, meaning that you need to handle this case, but make sure no one is watching you, because if they do see you and your friends using those hammers, it could lead to more problems down the road. Now, you do have Carol Danvers say she does have a lead, and she wants to know where in the world is Walter Lawson. And you have Hulkling check in with every single prison across the Skrull and Kree Empire to find out that Walter Lawson escaped day 2 of his crime sentence. And so with that, that means they have an escaped inmate and they need to find him, because he could be the one who actually destroyed that city that the Kree and the Skrulls were using to test to see if the Kree and the Skrulls could live together in peace. Now, we actually do see the team go back to the same city where the Kree and the Skrulls were using as a way to test to see if the Kree and the Skrulls could live together in peace. When the team gets back over there, of course, they now know that it was Westrel who was behind everything. And so, of course, their goal is to bring him in. Now, when they arrive into that city, well, that is the moment they do get attacked by a bunch of different robots that were made by Westrel. Now, with that being said, though, when it comes to this book, it's basically right now just all action. And what I mean is that the next few pages is us actually watching our heroes fight against the robots that were made by Westrel. And so once they're able to actually get rid of those robots, then they can focus their attention on capturing Westrel. Now, honestly, that battle doesn't last that long, because honestly, you do have our heroes being able to overpower Westrel very quickly. I mean, at first, it does seem like he's going to win or possibly be a challenge for them. But at the end of their battle, they do actually win and they are able to capture him. And then they use the hammer of the accusers to be able to read his mind and see what he did to this city, which of course it was a bomb that blew up the city, because he is trying his best to continue the war between the Kree and the Skrulls. But once our heroes were able to read his mind and show what he has done to basically hurt the Kree and the Skrulls peace treaty, they were able to say, okay, you're going back to jail for the crimes that you have committed. Now, getting back down to Earth, we actually do see L'Oreal hanging out in the apartment of Carol Danvers. Matter of fact, you had Carol Danvers tell her sister this time to stay in the apartment. Do not leave the apartment. And so with that being said, L'Oreal was staying in the apartment until there was a knock on the door. And of course, it's one of Carol Danvers' friends. And that friend is Marina. I want to say it's Marina. I could be wrong. But either way, you have Marina crying in the arms of L'Oreal because her daughter was kidnapped. Her daughter Kit. And so right now you have L'Oreal say, fine, if your daughter is missing and you are a close friend of my sister, I am going to help out. And so we see L'Oreal leave the apartment one more time, but this time to go save a child. And really, when we jump into the final tie-in for Captain Marvel to the event of Empyre, we actually do pick up with L'Oreal trying to fight against the Katahdis once again, because the Katahdis were the ones who had kidnapped Kit. Now, with that being said, you do have L'Oreal trying her best, but this time the Katahdis, there's way too many of them for her to handle on her own. Now, luckily for her, she does get some help. Her half-sister, Carol Danvers, does arrive once again to help out her sister. But this time, they're also joined by War Machine, Spider-Woman, and Hazmat. They're all working together to basically take down these Katahdis, but to also save Kit. But here comes another problem. They're still getting overwhelmed by the numbers of the Katahdis they're facing right now, to the point where you actually have Carol Danvers drop the hammer that makes her an accuser. She drops it on the ground, and that is huge. And the reason why it is so major, because you actually have L'Oreal pick up the hammer. And once she does, she becomes an accuser. She basically replaces her sister in the army of the Kree when it comes to her becoming an accuser, meaning that Carol Danvers is no longer a accuser. But either way, with L'Oreal now having the hammer and knowing how to use the hammer better than her own sister, you have L'Oreal able to free her sister, free Spider-Woman, War Machine, and Hazmat, and they're able to actually work together to get rid of this small army of the Katati. And so when they're able to actually do that, they're also able to free Kit. Because remember, the reason why L'Oreal is even here is because Kit was taken by the Katati. But with our heroes working together, they were able to save the young girl. Now, this is the moment it gets kind of weird for the book, because the next page or two is really more of the book telling us that this book takes place before the ending of Empyre. And what I mean is that you still have Empyre going on. The war is still going on between the Kree and the Skrulls fighting against the Katahdis. And so with that being said, you have L'Oreal actually hand the hammer over to her sister, Carol Danvers, so that Carol Danvers can go back to the Kree to help the Kree deal with the war. And so at first, the book does make it seem like this takes place before the end of Empyre. But then the last two pages basically tell us that this moment right here takes place after Empyre, after the ending of Empyre, because you do have Carol Danvers tell us that somehow the war is over. The heroes were able to win somehow, but we have no idea how. But with the war being over, that means that Carol Danvers is no longer an accuser. She gave up that right, and so now she's just your regular Captain Marvel. But that is the moment she is confronted by L'Oreal, her half-sister, because now L'Oreal is the new accuser in the Kree army. She basically replaced her sister in the Kree army. But with that being said, though, you didn't have Carol Danvers take L'Oreal to the gravesite of their mother, because their mother was buried on Earth. And of course, it's a very heartfelt moment for L'Oreal, because this is the closest she has ever been with her mother. And so, with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.